Hi, and welcome to my training room. I'm Rainer, and I just recently posted a video of a quick tour of the line from the perspective of riding on the train, and kind of give you an idea of what is planned for where on the railroad, and what you could see in that video, what I've managed to do since the previous video where I was talking about installing and wiring this control panel, and I had kind of this scene ready up to about here, and I had my turnaround loop working and the rest of the track work was working, but I really didn't have any scenery up here. So I mentioned near the end of my video, 2 videos ago I guess it was, that I really wanted to get a scenery base on everything, and that's what I've been doing. And so you can see that I've built a base here, and behind the camera over there where my lumber mill and little village scene is going to be, there's a styrofoam base. You can see that in my last video where the train drives through it. So I've built a scenery shell here. I've got a few trees in here temporarily. Still needs a lot of work, but it's just a basic shell, so at least things aren't falling through, and I can kind of get an idea of what it's going to start to look like. And down here as well, I've put some styrofoam down, because this is going to be my town scene, and of course there's still a lot to be done with my helix to cover this up and make it look prettier, but that's all in good time. But what I thought I'd do right now is just kind of give you an overview of what I did to build this section. And one of the first things I did, beyond having the track laid down, like I've said in earlier videos, so if this is your first video, all of my track is actually sitting on a cork road bed with a plywood base underneath. And so my track is nice and solid. All of this is all, other than the trestle itself, everywhere else the track is sitting on a plywood base. It's a 1/2-inch plywood, and it's all glued, screwed, nailed down. The track is, then there's cork laid on top of that, glued down with contact cement, and then the track is nailed on top of that. And from there, I build the scenery. So what I did for all of this scenery is very similar to what I did at this section. I started out with the flat areas, laying down some styrofoam as a scenery base. So both sides of the track, there's some styrofoam laid down. And then depending on the side of the type of hill I wanted, I would either use some styrofoam as a basic shell underneath, and then wrap chicken wire over top, and then plaster cloth on top of that. Or in some other places, I just took and stacked the styrofoam up, and then, like I did right here, and again put plaster cloth on top of that. There's a little bit of both happening over up in this area. And then once the plaster cloth had set, I mixed up some sheetrock 20, which is a quick setting drywall compound. It just comes in a powder form. I mix up some of that in a fairly watery, kind of a watery slop, and then I brush that on with a paintbrush. And you can see that in these videos when I'm doing that. I let that then harden overnight. And then I take some of my beautiful brown household latex paint and just paint everything with that brown paint to seal it in. While the paint is still wet, I sprinkle on some of the ground foam, and that, because the paint is still wet, it sticks to it. So this stuff, all of this green and kind of yellowish ground foam that's on here, there's no glue been applied to it, but I've cleaned up bits off of here with a shop vac, and it doesn't suck it off. So it's stuck on there, just stuck to the wet paint. I didn't need to use any glue yet at all for any of this. The trees, some of these trees right here that are in here, they're just here temporarily for now. I've just poked them into holes in the foam and stuck them in place. They're trees that I've been experimenting with various methods of building trees. I will, once I figure out what I'm doing with them, I will kind of show you links to where I got them from, the ideas from, but these are just some experimental things. Some of them work better than others. I like these better than those, but they're there. For these rock cuts, these cliffs, there's here, 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 and then back in there. Again, they're done very simply. What I do is I just get some aluminum foil, wrinkle it up in a ball, carefully unwrinkle it, lay it out in a metal pan, and then get some casting plaster, mix it up, pour it in there and let it set. And once it's hardened, peel it out of the tin foil, and I end up with something like this. What I then did with these before I put them in place was I just sprayed them flat black with a spray can of paint just to give it a black base, and then I will paint this and this just like I did with those, with some artist acrylics with some black and grays and whites and things like that. I haven't gotten to that yet. Again, I will show you how I do that in a later video, but that's how I got the foundation for the rock. And then there's going to be some more painting of this down the side here to kind of blend it in with the ground. I'm not done yet. It's not looking very real yet, but it'll get there. Basically these as well, I just put them in once the plaster has cured. I put them in and set them in place with hot glue, and then as I do the plaster cloth, I wrap it over the edge, and then when I put my sheetrock 20 on top, I make sure that I brush it on top so it all becomes one unit. So these cliffs now, with the way they're attached, they're not moving anywhere. They're all part of the same hill. That's kind of the idea of how I'm doing all of this. Just wanted to give you a quick overview of how I do my landscape construction here. Really kind of simple. There was a few places I think like on the edges of here and over there where I kind of had built the hill and then I just wanted to build it out a little more. So I just took some newspaper, balled it up and taped it in place, and then put the plaster cloth over top of it. So I have no problem with mixing different types of construction. So there is, underneath these hills, there's a mixture of styrofoam, chicken wire, and even balled up newspaper. It doesn't really matter. It's just there to give it the basic form. The plaster cloth and then the drywall compound over top is what gives it the hard shell that just keeps the shape. The other stuff is there really to keep it in that shape until it hardens. And then the next thing I did with it was up here, if you can see, the tracks look kind of dark. What I've done is I took out my airbrush and I sprayed the sides of the rails and the ties with the airbrush just to weather them and make them blend in so we don't have these bright shiny plastic ties and shiny metal rails. And then once that had dried, I just cleaned the top of the rails. Tracks still need ballasting, but I don't want to do the ballasting until I've done the other painting I need to do. There's still some painting I need to do, like the cliffs. There's some spots in the brown paint where the white plaster is still showing through, so I still need to touch that up. And, you know, things like this right here, it's just this brown, and what I'm hoping to do with this is actually paint this to look like it's a rock face as well. So it's kind of a rock cut that you're looking into. And I really don't know why this person is coming out in her skirt, carrying her purse out of a phone booth on top of a hill in the middle of nowhere, but that's where she is. Anyway, just another quick video to show you a little bit more of how I do the scenery here. Hope it gives you some ideas. I'm hoping to give you a little more detail of some of the things that I do down the road, but that is the current status of how things are going, and I do have a scenery base over the entire layout right now, so things are no longer falling through from the top level to the bottom level. So next plans, what I'm hoping to do is I have a building kit here that I bought on eBay, and it's like it's a Kibri factory building kit, and it's fairly large, and I'm not entirely sure whether I'm going to put it in this area or if I'm going to put it over there. And if I put it here, I might need to move one of these tracks. So I'm not entirely sure how that building kit's going to fit. That piece of paper is cut to the rough outside dimensions, but I just need to get it built. So I think that's going to be one of the next things that I do, is to actually start building a structure just so I can place it here, so I can figure out how to finish this area and that area, because I really, that building is going to be kind of key component that I need to build around. So that's going to be my deciding factor. If that factory goes here, then my train station is going to move from here to over there, and that changes how I configure my town. If that building doesn't fit right here and I need to put it over there, then my train station is going here, and again, my town is going to be different. So I think that building is probably going to be one of the next things that I build here, but we'll see how that goes. It's been a long time since I built an actual building structure kit. I built the trestle, and I built my turntable, which is at the other end. But yeah, a building kit, it's been a while. I mean, some of these, all of these I did build at one point. That building against the back wall is, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but there's a building against the back wall that's kind of got a loading dock at the front. That's a scratch built building I built a number of years ago. This little workshop is as well. These other buildings, town buildings down here, were various kits that I bought. Same with this train station and this. These were all built at various stages over the last 25 years. But that's kind of the status of what's happening here, and how my scenery base is progressing. All of this area is going to get a lot more trees. Northern Ontario has a lot of trees, so there's going to be a lot more trees once I figure out how I'm going to build the trees and what kind of trees I'm going to get. But that's the idea. There's going to be a lot more trees in here, and I really want to have the idea of the train coming along, and you see it moving through the trees and going through rock cuts and kind of that kind of thing, not on an open hills like it is now. That's not the look I'm going for, but it's all a step in the right direction. Thanks for watching, and if you like the video, click the like button, please subscribe, and see you next time.